Are you ready to be connected? You're listening to the Insured Connection podcast by Pica Group, a pro assurance company, where we provide expert advice for your practice when you need it most. We connect you with industry leaders to discuss timely topics so you can listen, learn, and get back to caring for your patients. Now, let's connect.
Welcome back to the Insured Connection podcast. I'm Becky Sargent, Director of Marketing at Pica. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that we get asked about a lot, which is social media and branding and where things can go wrong, where things can possibly go right. We all know that social media is powerful and it builds trust and visibility in patient relationships, but really one post can create legal exposure if you're not careful. And that's why I'm excited to be joined today by Mary Kate McGrath, a healthcare attorney who works closely with physicians when things don't go as planned. Mary Kate is a Philadelphia native with over 20 years of experience in handling complex healthcare and medical malpractice litigation and is a partner at Post & Post, LLC. She has successfully represented healthcare providers from the beginning of litigation through verdict at trial, including physicians, physician assistants, behavioral health providers, physical therapists, nurse practitioners, and other healthcare providers. Welcome, Mary Kate.
Thank you so much, Becky. I'm so happy to be there. This is such a timely topic.
Absolutely. So why should podiatrists be concerned about social media? I mean, a lot of times, podiatrists like to share content. Maybe it's just educational content and things like that. Why would they be at risk?
This is so important to bring this up. Social media really can blur the line between important factors like education, marketing, and medical advice. So even when intentions are good, posts can be misinterpreted very differently by patients or attorneys after the fact.
And I kind of think that surprises people, right? They think that, it's just kind of logos and coloring for branding, but it really is also behavior, right?
Absolutely.
It's things that
Absolutely.
people do. Do you have any examples that you might be able to share?
Well, unfortunately, we have far too many. One good one is a podiatrist who posted a video explaining heel pain, which is really educational and very helpful for patient populations. But at the end, the podiatrist said, if this sounds like you, try these stretches and give it a few weeks. So a patient followed that advice, delayed care, and later developed some serious complications. And unfortunately, that video became an exhibit as part of a professional malpractice claim against the podiatrist.
Wow, that's huge because the doctor was really just trying to be helpful, right? I mean, just trying to provide some advice.
I mean, no good deed goes unpunished, right? And the issue wasn't about just education. There was tacked on a specific direction at the end that a patient could interpret as a physician-patient relationship, which was the case for this poor podiatrist who made this video.
Wow. Um, so so possibly a safer brand move, a social media thing might say, this is general information, not medical advice. What are the pros and cons of having those disclaimers on your social media post? Are there any?
So I think that you want to walk the line of not seeming too legalistic when you're trying to reach out to patients, potential patients, but you do need to make sure that you're being very, very clear when you have a public facing post like that so that people understand that this is not a declarative do this in all cases. These are nice suggestions for you, but there's no substitute for seeing a real provider. So instead of saying, try it again and see if it works over a couple weeks, always find a tagline that has something to the effect of, there's no substitute for seeing an actual provider. So be sure to schedule an appointment if you find yourself having these issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And something else that we sometimes see that podiatrists struggle with is oversharing. You know, they think that transparency builds trust, which it does. How can that go wrong? What's the downside?
Doctors will try to give educational experiences to show people how they've successfully managed a condition or handled a situation, and I understand that impulse. If you want to show a great result and show a before and after, it can inspire patients. It can certainly bring new patients in to the practice. That's really helpful. But there are major HIPAA issues that you could step into if you inadvertently don't redact or remove even the slightest bit of identifying information relative to a patient, or if you post an overshare about an event. We had an issue in Philadelphia County where a couple months ago, there was a huge a huge plaintiff's verdict when a nurse posted pictures of a patient to her social media thinking that she was anonymous, but saying, oh my gosh, look at the funky shape of this baby's head. And it wasn't a podiatric case, it was a birth injury case. But this nurse who thought she was anonymous was called out, and that became a major exhibit. And that is why the jury, in a very defensible case, awarded a multi-million dollar verdict in Philadelphia County against the providers. You don't want to implicate yourself with any HIPAA issues, and you certainly don't want to give the opposing side ammunition that would alienate the 12 strangers who are going to be sitting on the jury, who are really not impressed with that kind of behavior, and it can really come back to get you.
Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and subscribe so you never miss an episode again. Now, let's continue to connect on today's topic.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. What if the nurse had, you know, deleted the post?
Yeah, it would have been best if she had never posted it in the first place. And if she had deleted it before the plaintiff's side got access to it, then she would have been fine. But because all attorneys, I do it when I'm about to take depositions of plaintiffs and their fact witnesses. We go through and hire professional social media skip tracers and investigators to get all of the social media postings they can find on people. So if something is deleted, then that's great. And hopefully it won't become a problem for you. But just it's safe to say that your personal social media accounts, your professional social media accounts are all fair game, and they will be just absolutely gone over with a forensic professional trying to identify every single thing you've done, because they're looking for the thing that's going to get a jury to be unimpressed with your professionalism.
Well, and that's an excellent point too that you bring up, because should doctors have separate social media accounts, and does that matter? Is there a pro and a con to a doctor posting on their professional social media as opposed to their personal account?
I think that separating and drawing boundaries is very, very important. So it is important to have your professional, public facing social media presence and your personal social media presence, but that's also public facing. So even with your personal information and accounts, we live in a small world. Everything is so connected and everything is so discoverable by anyone who has internet access. So it really is important to make sure that your personal presence tracks with your professional presence, and don't post anything that you would not feel very, very comfortable having blown up into a huge exhibit that will be displayed repeatedly during a trial. No one is anonymous. Nothing is unsearchable. There's no needle in a haystack when it comes to social media.
Yeah, for sure. Well, is there anything from a brand or a trust standpoint that podiatrists can do in regards to maybe commenting on posts or things of that nature? That's obviously we talk about social media reviews a lot, and encourage everyone not to respond to negative posts. But what is kind of your advice on that?
With negative posts, I would not respond. There are ways to go to the platform where the post is publicized and to challenge the factual accuracy, because a lot of these health grades or other healthcare portals or websites, they do not want issues with the providers seeing that a false statement has been publicized about them on their platform. So there are mechanisms through customer service where you can call and challenge and have a comment removed. If it's from your own personal website for your practice group, be circumspect about the comments that are deleted from your professional site. But it is always helpful to encourage patients who you have a great relationship with to please go on and, be very vocal online for you, so that that could counteract any sour grapes that might be posted on your own individual site. But it really is best to not engage in any kind of tit for tat with a patient, also because first off, it's unseemly, and potential patients might find that off-putting. Strangers can look at things that look like sour grapes and know, well, there are two sides to every story, and I am impressed by the fact that the doctor's taking the high road and not getting engaged with that. As a mom, I'm a member of a bunch of, like, Facebook mom groups in the area, and people are constantly being referred to, who's a good podiatrist that I could see in the Philadelphia area, and I will put friends' names on there. I can even link them on social media saying, "Hey, Dr. Smith, so and so is looking to find a good podiatrist," and I could give a testimonial about that. So those kinds of comments are great, but know that people will link you, even on your personal site, to a Facebook group or any kind of social media group, and then the patient could look at your profile as well. So there are definitely it's definitely important to be cognizant of how people could interpret everything on professional sites and personal sites.
Absolutely. It's just that quick now, right? I mean, it is somebody throws your name out on Facebook or Instagram. It's a click over and away you go.
Exactly right.
What within like those Facebook groups and things of that nature, when the general public is posting pictures of their foot or, an injury that they've got, and what do you think is wrong with this? And should I have this operated on and that type of thing. And again, I think everybody wants to respond and be helpful. What are your thoughts on those types of things?
I said this before, Becky, during this podcast, and I'm an attorney, so I mean it. No good deed goes unpunished. Really be careful, because if you, with the best of intentions, try to reach out and provide help to somebody who's in need and asking for help, then they really could determine that there's some kind of physician patient relationship there that would get you into some quicksand if things go south. Also remember that with telehealth and telemedicine and the Office for Civil Rights, they have determined that it is a HIPAA violation if you use platforms to provide care and treatment to a patient that are public facing. So anything that another human could look at and see, that's improper use of telemedicine, and that would be a HIPAA violation to provide medical care and any kind of opinion or recommendation. So, really, to cover yourself, it's always best to say, "I would love to see you. Please make an appointment. We'll get you in as soon as possible."
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting too, and another angle that I don't think I would have naturally thought of with telehealth and social media. So it's an
Yep.
interesting parallel there for sure. So, as we've been talking about, how to respond and that type of thing, I know uh, it might sound kind of boring and cold to people. Can I just be myself, and can I just provide the information that they're looking for? I mean, is there anything that you might say around that?
I will say that it is so important for you to assert boundaries. And a major boundary to assert is I cannot give you any recommendation or any opinion um, off the cuff like this. I just need more information. And if you tell the patient, potential patient, your brother in law who takes his shoe off and puts his foot on the table on Thanksgiving, whatever the situation, it really is important to say, wow, this could be a lot of things, and I don't have enough information to give you an answer right here as your foot is next to the mashed potatoes. But what I would suggest is that you please come in. It would be important to get an x-ray, or it would be important to put you through some tests. And I really can't even begin to guess. I don't want to guess and put you in the wrong direction in any way. So let's schedule an appointment and let's get you in.
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous response because it's about being clear and concise, and you're not being rude, you're not being, you're not ignoring them, but let's not be giving medical advice too quickly.
And it is so important because with communications, people don't necessarily read context clues or social cues that you might be throwing out. So it really is important that you're very, very clear and say, look, thank you so much for bringing this up. I get it. And that looks like it's painful. I really am not able to provide any medical advice to you. I recommend scheduling an appointment because it is important to get that taken care of, but always emphasize, I'm not providing medical advice. Let's get you scheduled. And if it is your brother-in-law and he doesn't want to come in to see you because of the family relationship, it's absolutely fine to say, I have so many colleagues I'd be thrilled to recommend you to, because it is important for you to get that seen.
Want to receive a monthly newsletter with topics from the Insured Connection? Head over to picagroup.com/insured connection and join our email list to have it delivered right to your inbox.
Absolutely. Good advice. Good
Yeah.
suggestions. So let's talk about some trends in reels and posting humor. What are the pros and cons of those types of scenarios online?
So it is so important to try to be of the moment when you're posting on social media so that it's something that is contemporary and current. But the most important thing is that it's you and not what you think other people would find funny. With humor, it's really best to steer clear of it if possible. I saw something that I loved this week that was hysterical about a dentist saying that he's sick of the husbands coming in to appointments and saying, I don't know why I'm here. And he was talking about getting a wheel of fortune where it's like, oh, you don't know why you're here. I'm going to roll it. And okay, you've landed on root canal when really it was your teeth cleaning. And the joke that this male dentist was making is that, it's not just your wife's problem for why you're coming in for a dental appointment. You should know your health, which it's very funny. I thought it was hysterical. My girlfriends thought it was hysterical. My husband did not think it was hysterical, and he was offended by it. So it just shows you that they just don't know who you're gonna alienate, and this dentist is somewhere else in the country. He doesn't care that my husband will not be coming to him as a patient, but you just don't know who you're gonna offend, so humor is so in the eye of the beholder, and I would recommend staying positive and staying upbeat and not being negative or a downer, but be really, really careful about the humor that you're posting.
Yeah, it is so true that a comedian's work is not easy, right? So and
Absolutely true.
you never
Yep.
know how a joke or a reel in this case might land, and then as we kind of keep hammering home on this podcast, it's kind of out there forever once it's out there, and you can't really take it back per se.
You certainly cannot, unfortunately.
If you had to give podiatrists, kind of five guardrails, rules for social media safety, what would those be?
I would say that it is so important. Just we've been talking about boundaries, and boundaries will protect you. They will protect your brand. They'll protect you as a practitioner. They'll protect future patients for not, taking what they perceive to be medical advice and going in the wrong direction with it. But if we were to boil it down to 5 rules, I would say first and foremost, never ever give individualized medical advice online. Full stop. Just don't do it. There are other ways to help a patient in need, and that is never going to be helpful to the patient or to you. And so there is nothing wrong with taking the position, I just do not do that online. Number 2, and this is a lawyer saying it to you, and I'm going to say it, but it's true. Use disclaimers consistently. Have it be part of your tagline, and you can say something to the effect of, remember, there's no substitute for being seen in person, and this is not medical advice because I'm not seeing you. So everybody's different, and things can be different based on the patient. And so that's why it's so important for you to be seen, but use disclaimers all the time. Number 3, and again, you don't know where you'd be missing a redaction on an X-ray or here or there, so avoid patient identifiers. People unintentionally post information, and it really can backfire. And then it's not just a professional malpractice issue. You could have the government then investigating. There are financial fines, even potentially criminal fines for HIPAA violations. So do in any way have any identifying information on anything that you post for a patient. Number 4, do not respond clinically to comments on DMs. No clinical advice. It is improper according to HIPAA because that technically would be considered a telemedicine provision of care, and you do not want to do that on a public-facing platform. So no clinical responses online, whether it's a DM or a Facebook post, anything. And number 5, assume that every single thing that you post could and would be used in a legal setting, and things can be taken out of context. And whether you meant the post in the spirit in which it's being presented to the public in the context of a trial or something else, you don't have control over it. Your intent is different from how it's perceived, and how it's perceived is what's important. So really just think about, am I fine with this being blown up on a big old film projected screen and being displayed to strangers in the context of a legal setting?
That's excellent, really. A lot of good points there. I think that my takeaway from our discussion is that, your brand is an asset. It's only protected if you're putting smart social media things into practice, post intentionally, and really pause and think about how this might impact your current patients, your future patients, and your livelihood, right?
Exactly right. It is so important. And it's a great and an important way to communicate. It's the way our world works nowadays. But just think, when in doubt, just boundaries are what will protect you as you move forward using social media for your practice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mary Kay, for joining us today. And thank you to our listeners. And if you want more resources on building a strong risk aware brand, be sure to check out the links in the show notes that we'll have posted later.
Thank you so much, Becky. I loved it and love being a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week's episode. But let's continue connecting. If you're enjoying the Insured Connection, don't forget to leave a review on your streaming platform and subscribe now so you can connect with us each time we post a new episode. To stay connected with us throughout the week and to tell us topics we should discuss on future episodes, go to picagroup.com/insured connection.